My 7-year-old daughter went on a special daddy-daughter bonding day with her father. He promised a surprise. When they came back, she was very quiet and covered in bruises. He said she fell off a swing. She didn't. The next day, I found out the truth and sent this to court. My name is Christina Miller. I'm 34, a nurse at a private clinic just outside Denver. I have a daughter, Sophie. She's 7. And everything I'm about to tell you really happened. Even if it sounds like the plot of a bad courtroom drama. David, my ex-husband, and I divorced almost 2 years ago. It was loud, messy, and painful. But the judge still ruled in his favor. Joint custody. Every other weekend, Sophie went to him. I didn't want it. Fought it. My lawyer just shook her head. If he's not drinking, not hitting her, and he's paying child support, he'll get visitation. That's how the system works. So I swallowed it. Because I had no other choice. At first, I hoped he'd change. That maybe he'd step up, be a real father, not just a performance. But no. David doesn't live as a dad. He performs as one. Phone always in hand. Camera always rolling. Everything is content. He posted TikToks with titles like Dad and Daughter MMA Workout. Or Teaching My Little Girl to Hunt Like a Pro. And Sophie, she just followed him around. Like a prop. Then came another Saturday. At 9:24 a.m., I got a text. Got something special planned for Soph today. She'll love it. Trust me, winky face. I hated that trust me. Because I'd seen what his special meant. 2 weeks earlier, he brought her home with bruises on her legs, said they were from laser tag. Before that, she came back shaken after he made her aim a toy rifle at taxidermy animals in some roadside hunting museum. She cried. I argued. He always dismissed me. You're too soft. I'm raising a strong woman. And still I let her go. Because legally, I had no grounds to stop him. And if I refused, I'd be the one violating the court order. That morning, just before they left, I took a picture of her. Sophie in her pink hoodie, with her tiny braid and the backpack she insisted on packing herself. She smiled. I didn't know why I took that photo. Just instinct. Just in case. They drove off at 10:05. Came back at 4:34. I opened the door, and I knew. Instantly. Something was wrong. Sophie didn't run to me. Didn't shout Mom, like she always did. She stood in the doorway, head down. Her face was pale, her eyes glassy. There was a bruise on her elbow. Deep. Fresh. Scraped knee. Dirty clothes. David tossed her bag inside like he was dropping off dry cleaning. She had fun. Tripped a little at the park, no big deal. You know kids. I stared at him. Then at her. She didn't speak. Sophie, are you okay? She just nodded. No words. No eye contact. You want to come in? Tell me what you did. Can't. Got alive in 10. Say bye, pumpkin. He said. Then he was gone. I shut the door. And only then noticed Sophie's hands were trembling. I crouched down. Sophie, what happened? She shrugged. Lips tight. Eyes somewhere far away. I took her to the bathroom. Pulled off her hoodie. Another bruise on her side. Dirt-streaked socks. Red marks around her wrist, like someone grabbed her too hard. Panic rose in my throat. But I swallowed it. No fear. Not in front of her. Where did you go? I don't remember. What do you mean? We just walked around. She barely touched her dinner. Didn't ask for cartoons. Didn't mention school or friends or anything. Just sat there, pushing macaroni around her plate with a fork. That night I woke to a sound. She was crying. Not loud. Not sobbing. Just soft, broken whimpers under the blanket. I came in quietly. She jolted awake. Mom, I didn't want to, she whispered. It's not your fault, I said. You're home now. You're safe. The next morning, she said she didn't want to go to gymnastics. Gymnastics. Her favorite thing in the world. I sat at the kitchen table with coffee that had long gone cold. Looked at the photo I'd taken the day before. Her smile, her little braid. Then looked at her now, blank eyes, hunched shoulders. And I knew. This wasn't a scraped knee. This wasn't falling at the park. Something happened. Something she couldn't say. Not yet. And if I ignored it now, if I told myself I was overreacting, she'd never come to me again when it mattered. What was the surprise? I asked her gently. She looked up at me and whispered, You don't want to know. That was it. That was the moment. I made a promise in my head. I will find out. Even if the court sides with him again. Even if no one believes me. Even if I have to do it all on my own. Because I'm her mother. And I won't let him hurt her again. Sophie still wasn't talking. 3 days had passed since she came home bruised and quiet. And every time I asked her about that day, she looked away. She'd flinch if my voice got too loud. She stopped drawing. Forgot about the doll she'd carried everywhere for 2 years. I watched her, and a question kept echoing in my head. When did everything start going wrong? I wanted to believe this was new. That David had only recently become like this. That stress, pressure, maybe grief had changed him. But that would be a lie. David had always been this way. I just hadn't wanted to see it. Or maybe I couldn't. I met David when I was 24. I had just finished my RN program and was working at the student health clinic on campus. He came in with a dislocated shoulder, said it happened during an amateur football game. Even while in pain, he was cracking jokes on the X-ray table. I remember him grinning and saying, "You sure you're a nurse and not a shampoo commercial actress? Because if you take my number, I'll heal on the spot." He was bold, loud, confident, the kind of guy who filled a room before he even opened his mouth. That alpha energy people talk about. And I guess when you're young and tired of quiet boys who live inside books, that kind of thing pulls you in. We started dating fast. He brought flowers, planned spontaneous road trips. Once he showed up with a college marching band under my window, brass section and all. My friends swooned. "You hit the jackpot," they said. "He's hot, he's manly, he's all in." Yeah, he was a man. In every sense. At first, that felt like a good thing. After the wedding, things shifted. He didn't like it when I disagreed with him. Once, when I questioned something he said, he snapped. "You sound just like my mother. Don't do that." Then Sophie was born. At the hospital, he shouted to the nurses like it was the Super Bowl. "She's mine. That's my girl. She's gonna be a champion." Back then I thought, who cares if he's a little intense? He loves her. That's what matters. When Sophie was about a year old, I brought up going back to work, maybe just part-time. I suggested hiring a nanny 2 days a week. He looked at me like I'd asked him to sell a kidney. "A nanny? Are you serious? A woman should be with her child. You want a career? Don't have kids." I brushed it off. Told myself he just has strong opinions. Back then I excused a lot of things. Then came the moments I couldn't explain away. When Sophie was 4, he made her stand barefoot in the snow. Said, "She needs to learn that pain isn't scary." I ran out with a blanket, wrapped her up. He yelled, "You're ruining her character. She'll be the kind of woman who cries because her office coffee's too hot." Another time she fell off her bike, scraped her chin. He didn't move. Just filmed it on his phone. "We'll show her later how she got up." That's grit. I tried to talk to him. Tried to reason. Every time he said the same thing. "You're weak. You're teaching her to be weak. I'm teaching her to fight." And I let it go. Again. And again. Then he got into those alpha dad videos. Grown men with beards yelling into webcams about how modern women are destroying masculinity. How kids need tough love. How emotions are weakness. David started posting his own content. About fatherhood. About molding a child from scratch. Everything was for the camera. Everything was content. I watched his videos and barely recognized him. No, I did recognize him. But now it was out in the open. He wasn't just like this at home anymore. Now he had an audience. Every time Sophie came back with a new bruise, he had the same line. "She's getting strong. You wouldn't understand. When Sophie turned 5, I filed for divorce." He was furious. "You're trying to destroy my life. You're stealing my daughter. You won't win." The court gave me primary custody. But he got joint legal rights. Every other weekend. Half of the holidays. I wanted to fight harder. For supervised visits. But my attorney just sighed. Colorado judges are conservative. He doesn't hit her? He doesn't drink? He'll get his weekends. It's America, Christina. Now, back in the present, Sophie was sitting on the living room floor, drawing. Just black lines. Marker after marker. Black. She used to draw rainbows. I went to my phone. Opened David's TikTok. He'd blocked me long ago, but his account was public. His latest video? A quote of the day. Some garbage about discipline and grit. But under an older post, I noticed the hashtags. Hashtag Little Fighter, hashtag Next Champ, hashtag MMA Kid, hashtag Uncle Tyler Knows Best. I froze. Opened the tagged location. A profile for Ray's MMA Garage. Scrolled through their videos. Kids sparring in gloves. Loud music. Men laughing in the background. Then I saw it. In the corner of one clip. A tiny girl in a tank top. Frozen. Watching. Her face half turned, like she didn't want to be there. It was Sophie. My heart stopped. I screenshotted the frame. Then another. Then another. I found the gym's address. 20 minutes away. Industrial area. Not a real children's club, more like a warehouse with a heavy bag and some cheap mats. I went to the hallway closet, pulled out my old canvas backpack, dropped in a notepad, my phone, a printed map, and a recorder, just in case. I didn't know what I was going to hear, what I was going to find, but I knew one thing. If I didn't go now. I woke up at 5:40 a.m. Sophie was still asleep, curled up like a kitten, her forehead damp with sweat. A small dark strand stuck to her cheek. She was grinding her teeth again. That sound had become a kind of alarm clock. An alarm I could no longer ignore. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake her. Tiptoed to the kitchen, brewed coffee, opened my laptop. Tick-tock. David's account was still public, even though he'd blocked me long ago. I used a different profile. Nothing suspicious, just the usual. Him in a baseball cap, yelling into the camera, reposting motivational sound bites. Then Instagram. And there it was. A photo of David with a boy in front of a gym wall. Lil Warrior in the making. Proud uncle. Hashtags. Hashtag MMAkids, hashtag NextChamp, hashtag Tyler crushes it. Tyler. His sister's kid. 10 years old. Aggressive. Got into fights at school. Once, when they visited, he called Sophie a crybaby. David just laughed. Kid's got spirit. Sophie could learn a thing or two from him. I checked the post's date, Saturday. The Saturday. In the background of the photo, half-blurred but unmistakable, was a painted sign. Ray's MMA Garage. I zoomed in. Screenshot. Saved. Then I searched the name. Address, South Denver. Industrial zone. No signage. Just a rusted gate and the words MMA spray-painted across a chain-link fence. I grabbed my jacket. Slipped the recorder into my bag. Wrote Sophie a note. I'm nearby. I'll be home soon. Grandma's coming to stay with you. When I pulled up to the gym, it looked exactly how I expected it would. A windowless building with one large steel door labeled Open GYM in chipped white paint. Inside, the air was thick with sweat, rubber, and something else, something raw, unfiltered. Punching bags, mats, sweat-stained gloves. Posters on the wall showed teenagers with medals, men mid-kick, slogans like, "No pain, no respect. Bleed for greatness." A thick-set man in a dark t-shirt came over. Bald. Beard. About 40. "You need help. I'm Ray. I run this place." "Hi. I'm looking for classes for my daughter." "Yeah. How old?" 7. We usually start at 8, but we make exceptions sometimes." I nodded. "I heard you do junior sparring?" "Saturdays. Family style. Informal. Not official, you know?" He winked like we were sharing some inside joke. "Were you open last Saturday?" "Of course. Full house. Even had real little ones. One guy brought his daughter, tiny thing, maybe 7 or 8. I hesitated at first. But he insisted. Paid in cash. Said she was ready to fight. I smiled tightly. My hands clenched inside my pockets. "How'd it go?" He hesitated. "Boy she sparred with? Bit too rough. Honestly, shouldn't ve happened. But the dad," he laughed. "Filmed the whole thing. Said it'd make great content." He glanced sideways at me. "Your girl okay? You're not with Child Protective, are you?" "No. Just a mom," I said. "All right. You can look around. No kids today, though." While he turned toward a locker, I pulled out my phone and snapped 3 quick shots. The gym. The chalkboard schedule. The wall with punching bags. On the board, it said, "Saturday Juniors, 10 to 1 o'clock. Tyler M. Tyler. That was him. No more doubt. Back in the car, I sat still for a moment. My fingers trembled against the steering wheel. I took a breath. Opened TikTok. Typed in the gym name. One video stood out, posted by an account called Jack's Fight Clips. Epic junior match at Ray's MMA Garage. Wait for it. I clicked. The screen lit up with the inside of the gym. 2 kids in the ring. A boy in red shorts, taller, heavier. And in front of him, a girl. My daughter. Sophie. No headgear. No gloves. Just a tank top and leggings. She stood there, arms low, eyes wide. Terrified. He lunged. Pushed her hard. She fell flat on her back. Someone off-screen laughed. Next frame, she sat up, clutching her elbow. Her mouth twisted. She was crying. And then a voice. Sharp. Familiar. "You're not soft, right? Get up. Show some strength. Be a warrior like your dad." David. His voice. His words. I rewound. Watched again. And again. The push. The fall. The laugh. The tears. And David filming. I turned the video off. Just sat there. Then I copied the video. Transferred it to a flash drive. Uploaded to the cloud. Sent it to both my phones. I wasn't going to lose this. This was everything. The next morning, I was at my lawyer's office. Sarah Dunn, sharp, focused, no nonsense. I showed her the screenshots, the gym schedule, the video. She watched quietly, then leaned back and said, "We're filing for emergency custody modification. Do we have a chance? We have evidence. Witnesses. This isn't a mother's intuition. This is documentation." She hit record and began dictating. Basis: endangerment of the minor's physical and emotional well-being. Requesting temporary suspension of paternal custody, full investigation, immediate transfer of guardianship review to CPS. I nodded. Do whatever it takes. That night I sat by Sophie's bed again. She was sleeping peacefully, her breath even, her forehead no longer slick with sweat. I sat there holding my phone. On the screen, a paused frame from the video. Sophie sitting on the mat, tears in her eyes, hands trembling, and I whispered barely aloud, "Now I have proof. You won't get away with this. Not this time." It had been almost a month of silence, of anxiety, of preparation. I barely slept. I gathered paperwork, printed screenshots, pulled state law articles, talked to child psychologists. I stopped doubting. I just acted. Sarah, my lawyer, said from day one, "This won't be easy. But we have something most people never get in these cases, video." And the truth. Sophie was still cautious, but her fear had started to fade. We watched cartoons again. She asked to go swimming. But every night, as I turned off the lights, she'd whisper, "You won't take me away, right?" And I'd answer, "No, baby. Never." The hearing was set for a Wednesday morning. It wasn't a preliminary. This was the main one. The judge had already reviewed our emergency filing and temporary restrictions. Now it was time for a final decision. The county courthouse was cold. Gray. Lawyers' parents' files in hand. I kept the flash drive in my coat pocket. It felt like it was burning through the lining. That drive had the video. But more than that, it held the truth. David showed up 10 minutes before the start. Suit. Designer tie. Lawyer by his side. He glanced at me and smirked, like this was a performance, not a courtroom. There were 8 of us in the courtroom. The judge, a man in his 50s, stern and unreadable. To his left, a rep from Child Protective Services. Next to her, a child psychologist who had spoken with Sophie. Me and Sarah. David and his lawyer. And in the back, his sister, arms crossed like she was at a PDA meeting. We started with Sarah. She stood and spoke calmly, clearly, holding up our exhibits. "Your Honor, we present material evidence of gross negligence regarding the minor's safety." The video clearly shows a 7-year-old child, Sophie, being forced into a full-contact sparring session with an older child, in an unregulated, unsafe environment. The father's voice is heard throughout, encouraging aggression, dismissing distress. We also include a psychological report from a licensed professional and supporting documentation from Child Services. The judge watched the video privately, headphones on. No sound in the courtroom. Just silence stretching minute after minute. His face tightened, jaw set. When it ended, he removed the headphones. Looked directly at David. Then the psychologist spoke. A woman in her 40s, calm, clinical. "The child is exhibiting signs of acute stress disorder. Sleep disruption, social withdrawal, fear of physical activity." She described being shamed publicly, coerced emotionally, and made to feel that love was conditional on obedience. Then she paused and added, "She told me, I didn't cry. Because if I cried, Daddy would say I'm not his daughter." The room went still. Even David wasn't smiling anymore. The CPS rep stepped forward. "Based on our home inspection, interviews with both mother and child, review of the video and psychologist's report, we determine the father poses a safety risk. We recommend full transfer of custody to the mother. We also recommend suspension of contact pending investigation for potential criminal charges." Then they brought Sophie in. She walked in holding the hand of a social worker in a beige cardigan, wearing jeans and a hoodie, her hair in a loose bun. She didn't look at David. Sat beside the psychologist. The judge's voice softened. "Sophie, do you remember what happened that day?" She nodded. "We were at a gym. Dad said it'd be fun. Then a boy started pushing me. I fell. I was scared. Did you want to leave?" "Yes." "Why didn't you?" "Dad said if I cried I was weak. And he wouldn't love me." Silence again. No one moved. Then it was David's turn. His lawyer spoke. "Your Honor, the father did not intend harm. His actions stemmed from a misguided attempt to build resilience in his child. He himself grew up in a harsh environment. This was a lapse in judgment, not abuse." The judge held up a hand. "You believe filming a child crying, being shoved, and posting it online for views is building character? David cut in. I didn't hit her. I wanted her to be strong. I wanted her to. You used her pain for content, the judge said. You made your child's fear part of your brand. I stood last. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just said, I'm a mother. I went to the police. I went to CPS. No one listened. So I gathered proof. I brought this to court. Not because I hate him, but because she's my daughter. She wasn't heard. So I had to be her voice. He made her fear go viral. Turned her pain into a performance. I won't let my child become another trending clip. She needs to know, her mother is here. And always will be. The judge looked down at the papers. Then back up. The court rules as follows. Full and sole custody is granted to the mother. The father is barred from contact pending outcome of criminal proceedings. The case will be forwarded to the district attorney's office for review under child endangerment statutes. The father is ordered to pay $25,000 in damages for emotional and psychological harm. The father is also prohibited from posting or sharing any content involving the child, directly or indirectly. Platforms will be petitioned for removal of all such material. As we left the courtroom, a plainclothes officer approached David. Handed him a summons. His face shifted, something fell apart in that moment. The show was over. A week later, his YouTube channel was terminated. TikTok restricted his account. Sponsorships dropped him. Monetization gone. He lost his income. Had to sell the car. Move out of his apartment. And me? I sat on a bench at the park. Sophie swung back and forth, laughing. Sun on her face. Wind in her hair. No cameras. No shouting. No be strong, hit harder. Just grass. Laughter. Peace. He tried to turn her into a warrior. But all she ever wanted was to be a little girl. Now she could. I don't know what this story made you feel. Anger? Sadness? Relief? But I want to ask you something. Did Christina do the right thing? Did she go too far, or was this what protection really looks like? Let me know in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for staying with me. Take care. And remember, even the quietest voice can carry real power.